I never thought I'd be sitting here, pouring out this mess of my life in an online forum, but honestly, I don't know where else to turn. I married the woman I loved, thought I did anyway. We'd been together for 5 years, building a life, planning a future. Everything seemed solid, peaceful, until it crumbled in a single, devastating moment. It started with small things, the kind of things you shrug off at first. She'd be a little more distant, distracted, phone always in her hand. I'd catch her sneaking quick glances at her messages, but she'd brush me off every time. I chalked it up to stress, work pressure, anything but what I feared most. But then I saw it, something that made my stomach turn. It was a text late one night from a number I didn't recognize. I had been lying in bed, half asleep, when I decided to check her phone. I'd never gone there before, too trusting, stupid as hell. The message was from someone named Matt. I knew right away who that was, my best friend Matt. The words sent a cold shiver down my spine. Can't wait to see you tonight. Feels like we're sneaking around. But I don't care, I want you. I blinked, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might leap out of my chest. My hands went numb and I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. She hadn't even deleted it. She left the evidence right there like a slap in the face. I felt my stomach churn, my palms were clammy and icy at the same time. I'd always trusted her, always believed in our future. How wrong I was. And Matt, my best friend, that betrayal cut deeper than anything else. It was like discovering a part of my life was built on lies I never saw coming. I kept reading the messages. There were more texts full of promises, flirtation, and plans to meet up. They'd been doing this for weeks, maybe longer. I found messages where she was trying to hide the truth, deleting evidence, acting innocent. But the clues were right there. I remember just sitting there, staring at her phone, feeling something I'd never felt before, rage mixed with a sick, hollow ache. The world had tilted off its axis. How could she do this? How could Matt, my best friend, cross that line? It felt like a punch to the gut, but worse, like someone had reached inside me and was twisting the knife. I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, but all I did was sit there, trembling. My mind kept racing, trying to grasp what I'd just uncovered. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't know where to go next. I only knew everything had changed, irreparably. In the days that followed, I did what I always do, analyzing, overthinking, trying to find the right move. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't see what I'd seen. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal that shattered the foundation of everything I believed in. I couldn't stay silent, not anymore. But part of me wondered, how do you even begin to heal from this? When trust evaporates like that, what's left? I started planning. I knew I had to confront her, but I also needed a plan, something to make her see the pain she caused, something that would hit where it hurts. I wasn't just going to walk away, not without making her see the damage she'd done. I had a few ideas and I was dead set on executing them. But first, I needed her to admit everything. I needed the truth to come out in the open. And once it did, that's when I'd decide what's next. I had to be careful, calculated. I couldn't let her manipulate her way out of this. I looked around the room, feeling a strange calm settle over me despite the chaos inside. I knew this was only the beginning. The real game was about to start, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. The more I thought about it, the clearer my plan became. I needed to catch her in the act again, something concrete, undeniable. I wanted her to see that I knew that I wasn't going to be duped anymore. I started gathering evidence, not just through her phone, but by checking her emails, social media, even her car. I wanted every piece of her deceit laid bare so there be no room for denial. One afternoon, I followed her. She said she was going to the grocery store, but I knew better. I parked a few blocks away, watching her walk into a nearby cafe. I kept my eye on her through my car window, feeling like I was spying on someone I used to care for deeply. My stomach twisted. I felt like I was betraying her too, even as I was trying to find the truth. She met with Matt, no surprise there. They hugged a little too long, a little too intimate. I saw her tilt her head in that way that told me she was listening, hanging onto every word he whispered. I had my phone ready, hidden but recording. I wanted proof. If I was going to do this, I needed everything concrete, undeniable. After about 20 minutes, they parted ways. She looked around, probably to see if anyone was watching, then hurried back to her car. I kept my distance until she was gone, then I walked over to her table just to be sure. That's when I saw it. A small, crumpled piece of paper under her napkin. I bent down, heart pounding, and snatched it up. It was a handwritten note. Tonight at the usual place. Can't wait. No signatures, nothing to identify them besides her handwriting, but I knew it was from her. The location, a secluded park on the edge of town where they'd probably meet up. I felt a rush of heat in my chest, a mix of anger and victory. This was it. I had everything I needed. Photos wouldn't be necessary, the note was proof enough. I couldn't believe she'd been so careless, so reckless. When I got back home, I sat down and stared at the note, my thoughts racing. This was going to end one way or another. I had to confront her face to face, not through messages or second-hand evidence. I needed her to look me in the eye and admit everything. That was the only way I'd have closure. That night I drilled it into my head. I'd do it on my terms. I'd call her out, make her see that I knew. No more hiding, no more pretending. I was tired of feeling like a fool, tired of feeling this gnawing hurt in my chest. I made sure the house was quiet, the lights dimmed. I waited, heart pounding again, as she finally walked through the door. She looked exhausted, like she'd been running from something. Her eyes flickered when she saw me sitting on the couch, the note in my hand. "Where did you get that?" she asked, voice strained, little shaky. I looked her straight in the eye. "I followed you today. You weren't at the store. You met Matt at the cafe. And this," I said, holding up the note, "says you're meeting him tonight at the park. Care to explain?" She froze. Her face went pale, and for a second I thought she'd deny it all. But then she looked away, silent. Her hands trembled, betraying her. I could feel my jaw tight and my fists clenching. "Tell me what's going on," I demanded, voice sharper than I intended. She finally looked up, tears brimming but holding back. I don't know, I didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered. That's when I realized this was just the beginning. I had her cornered now, and I knew exactly what I was going to do next. I wasn't going to let this slide, not without making her understand how much she'd hurt me. The revenge I'd been planning was about to unfold, and she was about to see it all. "Do you want me to continue?" The moment she admitted everything, I felt a strange mix of relief and rage. Relief, because I finally had the truth, no more guessing or doubts. Rage, because I realized how deep her betrayal went. She lied, cheated, and manipulated for weeks, maybe months, and Matt, my best friend, was just as guilty. I could feel my fists clenching tighter, my jaw clenched so hard I thought I might crack a tooth. I looked at her trembling hands, then at her tear-streaked face, and decided I wasn't going to let this slide. Not without making her understand just how badly she damaged us both. I needed a plan, something that would show her I was serious, that I wasn't just going to walk away and pretend it didn't happen. "You think you can just apologize and move on?" I said, voice low but controlled. "That's not how this works. You hurt me more than I can even describe. And Matt, my best friend, you both thought you could get away with this." She looked down, crying harder now. "I didn't mean for it to ruin everything," she whispered. "I was so stupid. I didn't want to lose you." That's when the idea started forming. Revenge, yes, but also something that would leave a mark, something she'd never forget. I wanted her to feel the weight of her lies, the betrayal twisting inside her. I decided to plan something calculated, something that would make her regret everything she'd put me through. I told her, "You want to fix this, then you're going to do exactly what I say. No arguing, no lying, just follow my lead and maybe I'll consider forgiving you." She nodded, desperate, her eyes pleading. "Good," I said. "First, I want you to pack your bags. You're leaving tonight. I want you gone, no excuses. You're going to stay at Matt's house for a while. Think about what happens when you betray someone who trusted you with his whole heart." She looked at me like I just punched her in the stomach, but I kept my voice steady. "And here's the thing, you're not getting back in until I say so. Not calling, not texting. You're giving me space to think. And when you come back, I want to see genuine remorse. Not just apologies, but actions." She hesitated but nodded again. "Okay," she whispered. I wanted her to truly understand that I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. If she wanted to repair what she destroyed, she'd have to earn it. And this was just the start. The next step was the hardest. I made a quick call, arranged for her to stay with a friend for a few days, somewhere she couldn't reach me. I needed her to feel the sting of separation, of losing her comfort zone. I also set up cameras in the house, just in case she tried to sneak back or hide anything. I wasn't taking any risks. While she packed, I slipped her phone into a drawer, hidden but accessible. I wanted her to think I wasn't watching, but I was always a step ahead. I wanted her to realize that her actions had consequences, that I was serious about ending this game of deception. Hours later, she was out the door, her bags packed and her eyes red. I watched her leave, feeling cold and hollow, but also strangely relieved. I had taken control. I'd set the stage for what was coming next. I wasn't going to let her just walk back into my life without consequences. As she disappeared down the street, I stood there, feeling the weight of everything. This was only the beginning. The real revenge, the one that would hit her where it hurt most, was still coming, and I was ready for it. Do you want me to continue? The silence in the house was deafening after she left. I stood by the door, watching her car fade into the distance, and felt a strange mix of emptiness and satisfaction. I knew I was doing the right thing, but it still hurt, seeing her gone, knowing she was probably with Matt, probably letting him hold her and kiss her again. That thought made my stomach churn, but I forced myself to stay calm. I had a plan, and I was going to see it through. In the quiet moments that followed, I started setting the wheels in motion. I couldn't just confront her once and expect everything to fix itself. That's not how betrayal worked. I wanted her to realize she'd lost control, that her lies had consequences. I also needed her to feel insecure, confused, afraid of what came next. That's when I decided to turn her own game against her. The first step was more subtle. I changed all the passwords on her social media accounts and email, even her phone. I left her a note inside her email, simple, direct. All your secrets are now mine. I knew she'd panic, but that wasn't the point. This was about making her realize I was always one step ahead. Next, I created a fake social media profile, anonymous but realistic enough to pass as someone interested in her. I started liking her pictures, sending messages filled with compliments, just enough to pique her curiosity. I wanted her to feel watched, to question everything. I made sure to keep it casual but persistent enough to keep her guessing. Days went by and I kept her updated from my new anonymous account, messaging her just enough to keep her on edge. I'd throw in little hints like, "You're so beautiful in that latest photo," or "I saw your message to Matt, looks like you're really having fun." I wanted her to realize I was watching her every move, even from afar. Meanwhile, I kept my eyes on her phone records, her emails, the locations she visited. I picked a specific day, this upcoming Saturday, to confront her again, but this time with everything in my favor. I needed her to understand that she'd crossed a line, and I was prepared to take everything away from her if she didn't come clean. One night, I set up a meeting with her at a local cafe under the pretense of wanting to talk. I wanted her to come alone, no Matt, no backup. I wanted her to see that I wasn't afraid of her anymore, that I was the one in control now. When she arrived, she looked nervous, glancing around nervously. I could see her hands trembling as she sat across from me. I kept my tone calm but firm. "You've been playing with fire," I said. "You thought you could cheat, lie, and hide forever, but I found out everything. The messages, the notes, the secret meetings, and now I want to know, what the hell are you doing?" She bit her lip, trying to hide her tears. "I didn't mean for it to get this far. I was lost, confused. I didn't want to hurt you, but I couldn't help myself." I shook my head, feeling the anger boil inside. "Lost or not, you crossed a line. You betrayed everything we had. And I didn't do this to hurt you back. I did it because you deserve to see what your lies look like from the other side." Her eyes welled up with tears. "Please don't do this, just give me a chance to fix it." That's when I revealed what I'd done. I slid her phone across the table, unlocked, with my fake profile still active. She stared at it, pale, then looked at me with shock and fear. "I've been watching you," I said coldly. "Every message, every secret, every lie. If you think you're going to come back and sweep this under the rug, you're dead wrong. This is the wake-up call. You're going to lose everything if you don't face the truth now." She looked down, trembling, and finally whispered, "I never wanted to hurt you." I leaned closer. "Then why did you? Why Matt? Why betray me like this?" Her voice barely sounded. "It was a mistake. I was stupid. I didn't think it would come out." I took a long breath, feeling the weight of everything. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the anger. I knew then that I had to make her see that this was the end of the line. No more lies, no more games, just the truth, raw and brutal. As she left the cafe that night, I was already planning the next move. The damage was done and I was ready to finish what I started. She'd pushed me to the edge and now I was going to make her pay in a way she'd never forget. Would you like me to continue? The days that followed were a blur of planning and waiting. I knew I had to act carefully, precisely. The confrontation at the cafe was only the beginning. Now I wanted her to feel the full weight of her betrayal, without crossing some line that would make me the villain. Revenge, yes, but still within boundaries. I needed her to see that she'd lost control of everything, including herself. I kept my cool, but inside I was simmering with a dark satisfaction. I'd set the stage for her to realize that her lies had consequences. I made sure all her devices were monitored, her accounts locked tight, her routines carefully observed. I wanted her to believe she was still in control, but I was the one pulling the strings. One morning, I arranged for her to receive a mysterious package. No return address, just a small box wrapped in plain brown paper. Inside was a simple note: "You can't run from the truth." Along with it, I placed a USB drive. I've been secretly collecting evidence, her messages, her calls, her secret meetings. I wanted her to think I was watching her, that I knew everything. When she opened the box, her eyes widened in surprise. She called out, her voice trembling. "What's this? Who sent it?" I kept my tone neutral. "Open it, you'll find out." She hesitated, then carefully disconnected the USB and plugged it into her laptop. As the files loaded, her face drained of color. Photos, screen captures, recordings, every secret rendezvous, every lie, every moment she tried to hide. I'd compiled a dossier of her betrayals, and now it was all there for her to see. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "You're ruining everything," she whispered. "Maybe," I said. "But you needed to see what I've known all along. That I'm not the fool you thought I was. That your lies are exposed and everyone will know the truth." Paused and leaned in closer. "You can't keep hiding, not anymore." She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing uncontrollably. I watched her, feeling the satisfaction of finality. I'd been patient, planning every step. Now I was ready for the ultimate move, the one that would forever remind her of her betrayal. That evening I called her. "Meet me at the park," I said. "It's time you face what you've done." She showed up, her face streaked with tears, trembling like a leaf. I handed her a sealed envelope. "This is the keys to your apartment. I want you to leave tonight. You're done here." She looked at me in shock. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," I replied. "You've lost your right to be here. Take what you want, say your goodbyes, but you're not coming back. This is the last time you'll betray me." She hesitated, then took the envelope, clutching it like a lifeline. She looked around nervously, probably realizing how much she'd lost: her home, her marriage, her trust. I saw her hands shake and knew I'd broken her in a way she'd never recover from. That was the point. As she drove away that night, I felt a strange calm settle over me. I'd done what I set out to do. I'd taken back my life, even if it hurt like hell. The betrayal was out in the open now, and I knew she'd never forget it. The next day, I handed over her keys to the landlord, sealed the apartment in her name. I wanted her to feel that final blow, completely cut off, totally defeated. I'd chosen to end it on my terms, not hers. It was harsh but necessary. And as I closed that chapter, I found a strange clarity. Sometimes the only way to heal is to tear everything down first, to make them see what they've lost. That's what I did, and I've never felt more certain that I made the right choice. Would you like me to finish with the final part? The house felt emptier than ever after she left. Silence hung heavy in every room, and for the first time in years, I was alone with my thoughts. I stood in the doorway of what used to be our shared space, feeling the cool breeze from the open window brush against my face. It was over. The betrayal had shattered what little trust remained, but at least now I had reclaimed some semblance of control. I spent the day cleaning out her belongings. Each item I packed away felt like a small victory, an outward sign that I'd taken back what was mine. I handed the keys over to the landlord, watching as the lock clicked shut. That final act was symbolic, the closing of a chapter I never wanted to reopen. I felt an odd sense of relief mixed with a hollow ache inside. Looking around, I remembered all the moments we'd shared, her laughter, the quiet mornings, the plans for our future. All of it now just ghosts lingering in the empty rooms. But I also knew that holding onto the pain wouldn't help. It was time to move forward, no matter how much it hurt. That evening, I sat down with a glass of whiskey and reflected on everything. I realized that betrayal is a brutal teacher, and despite the pain, I'd learned something crucial. Trusting blindly only leads to heartbreak. From now on, I'd be more guarded, more aware. Not suspicious, but cautious enough to protect myself. I thought about her, about Matt, and about how easily some people can betray the ones closest to them. It's a harsh lesson, but it's one I won't forget. Trust is earned, and I've learned to be a little more careful with mine. I promised myself I wouldn't let this define me, but rather teach me how to be stronger. As I poured the last of my drink, I made a decision. I'd focus on healing, on rediscovering who I am outside of this chaos. I'd start by reconnecting with friends I'd pushed aside, doing things that made me feel alive again. Because even after betrayal, life goes on. It always does. The final step was the most tangible. I went to the bank, withdrew what I'd saved, and started putting the pieces back together. I didn't want to be a victim of her lies anymore. I wanted to rebuild my sense of security, my independence. I bought a new place, a fresh start where no one could reach me unless I allowed them. Standing there, holding the keys to my new life, I understood something essential. Betrayal cuts deep, but it also reveals who's truly worth trusting. That lesson, brutal as it was, will stay with me. I know that someday I'll find love again, someone who values honesty and respect. But for now, I'll just breathe and move forward. Closing the door behind me, I felt a strange sense of peace. This was my reset. No more lies, no more treachery, just me, starting over. Because sometimes the only way to heal is to let go of everything that no longer serves you and build anew from the ashes. And that's exactly what I did.